Okay, so. Okay. I know, like,
Asked me. Yeah. I was terrified. I was like, I have to do it.
I think when we got the appearance.
it's an animal.
I love it.
I'm gonna have to do that now too.
Oh, action. Cool. Okay, but we're not like, are we recording?
She has good audio, that's why.
Oh, cool.
And look at the camera.
Yeah, I know, I keep I know.
I'm gonna be invisible here. You hear a voice just, on the side. Okay, Rebecca, can you share a specific experience when your hair wasn't accepted by society?
When I was growing up, I grew up in a fairly conservative area, meaning if you were born with a vulva, that there were certain things that you could say, not say, dress, eat, behave, and that included your hair.
It was recently approved by federal government that you can discriminate against locks to hire people, and if you wanted to fire someone just because they have locks, you can do that. It's a federal law.
I was in an office for my first job, and everyone around me had very polished straight hair, and I ended up having to just put it up in a bun most of the time because looking like this was not very accepted in a professional office space.
I was working in a for-profit company, and I remember my supervisor making a similarity comparison with other coworkers who had chemicals in their hair, like either a perm or a weave, and then making a comment about me saying, well, why don't you have your hair like that?
I was in my AP statistics class in high school, and my teacher said to me in front of the class after asking a question, did your blonde roots go to your brain?
In second grade, I remember one time a boy commented on how much arm hair I had, and I went home that day after school and I asked my mom to wax my arms because I was so affected. And I was so self-conscious about having so much hair. But then fast forwarding a year, when I lost all my hair, I became so self-conscious that I didn't have any hair.
When I was playing basketball in a predominantly white Caucasian league, my aunt had actually came and did my hair, and I was super excited. She cornrowed it and then had beads on the ends. By the third quarter, the refs actually stopped the game and everyone was confused. They had actually walked up to me and my coach and was telling me that I needed to take out my cornrows and my beads because it didn't follow the code and policy.
So when it got to the point that I was finally able to accept what I looked like without hair and I started to feel beautiful without it, I decided to stop wearing wigs. So one day when I got to work, it was the first day that I had worn a head wrap at the cafe that I was at. Everybody was kind of looking at me, and my manager made a point to tell me that I might not be able to wear that because it was not part of dress code. And I felt so odd about the fact that something like a head wrap wouldn't be allowed at an establishment. It was just shocking to see that if I was going through that for wearing a head wrap a couple days a week, I can't even imagine what other people have experienced.
I challenge everything that I think about, everything that goes through my brain. I question why, and I started thinking about hair. And I started paying attention to those around me, leaders, models, actresses, and I started noticing that not too many women in power, had short hair, unless they were playing a trauma role. So I wanted to prove that short hair doesn't define your power or your femininity.
Ever since I was young, I would see pictures of women with long, beautiful, flowing hair, and that was always what was taught is beautiful. Even women who would cut their hair short would be chastised as being too masculine in our society.
There was an episode of Friends where one of the girls shaved her head, and I think Joey was like, oh, you can't date a girl who's bald, she doesn't have any hair. And that really stuck with me when I was really little. Because I was like, oh my God, does that mean that people can't date me because I'm bald, or are people not gonna like me because I don't have hair?
In the media, they portray Latinas as having big, long, wavy hair. That just doesn't represent what my hair looks like every day. So it's really hard when I look in the mirror or when I try to do my hair for a night out, I'm disappointed.
I would say growing up at first, I always thought that if I was to wear my natural hair, it needed it to be curly, it needed to be long, it needed to be loose. Kinky wasn't okay, braids weren't okay, twists, dreads, however I wanted to express my hair was not okay. But now that I've gotten older and I've become more conscious about the things that I am exposing myself to, I've been able to follow super dope Instagram pages that show women like me with hair like me in different ways that I can wear it and that it is beautiful and that it is accepted.
I have been really blessed to have two wonderful daughters who have two different types of textures of hair. And one thing that I purposely do with my hair is to keep it natural so that my kids can see what it looks like to not conform to society and do something different.
So my family always thought that I was a black sheep. They didn't know how to support a daughter who wanted to fit in. Why don't you straighten it, or why don't you cut it a certain way? And I was at a loss.
I was always told, do your hair, comb it, tame it, put it up in a ponytail. At night they would braid it and so that I could grow longer. I don't think that they meant to instill this idea that beautiful long hair means a beautiful person. But as a child growing up, I feel like I internalized this idea of beautiful hair means beautiful person. So now that I've been going through this challenge of hair loss, I don't feel beautiful all the time.
I guess I could say I came from a place of privilege in that in this society I never really struggled in the same ways that other women have. We rarely talked about hair. There was not much around beauty routines. Feel empathy for women who have had a dissimilar experience than me.
So my dad has always preached that my black hair defies gravity and to let it stand tall. And don't let anyone else tell you otherwise.
Growing up, my parents always told me that my hair was beautiful at its naturalist forms, that I didn't need to change it or alter it. During that time, I didn't really appreciate it. I wanted to look how everybody else was looking or fit in the way that everyone else was fitting. And I realized that I didn't hate my hair. I hated how people felt about my hair.
So when I was pregnant with my oldest daughter, whose father is Filipino, I've got so many compliments. Oh, girl, your daughter's gonna have good hair. Oh, it really is good hair, right? And then with my youngest, whose father is African American, no one ever said to me, oh, your daughter's gonna have good hair. It was always like dread of like, oh, her hair's gonna be this and her hair's gonna be that. Like it was really harmful or shameful, I should say, to have thick hair or to even have hair. I was always told any hair on your head is good hair.
Every now and then, I'll get an inappropriate comment. This was, I would say, prior to my locks, so like, oh, you look like you stuck your hair in an outlet, or they'll try to touch your hair, which we all know that's a big no-no. So,
Whenever I go to Japan, people will look at my hair like, what is wrong with this person that looks Japanese but with wild hair? I didn't know Japanese people had curly hair. Are you mixed? Are you sure you're Japanese? I'm 100% Japanese, and yes, I have naturally curly hair. It's not a perm.
My father, to this day, he'll be 80 soon, still thinks that my hair is not acceptable for society, not acceptable for him, and that I should go back and get a perm. I remember one time, well, consistently, he's always says, what's that stuff in your hair? Like, get that out. You can't get a job. You can't do these things. Why do you have your hair like that? And I have said for years is that, Dad, I love my hair, and this is what I choose to do with my hair. My youngest currently is rocking an afro, and it warms my heart that she's doing it. She asked me recently why never I locked her hair. And I told her, when you get older, you'll be able to make that decision of what you want to do with your hair. Right now, I'm giving you different options so you can see the options. So when you get older, if you want to lock it, you can lock it. But right now, it's not my journey, it's your hair journey.
I first got alopecia when I was in 3rd grade. My mom was brushing my hair one time before school when she noticed a very small bald spot on the back of my head. And through a lot of doctor's appointments, I was diagnosed with alopecia areata. which is an autoimmune disorder where your body essentially thinks that your hair is a virus, so attacks it. From the point of having just a small bald spot to losing all my hair, it was just a week. So it was like very shocking for me. At such a young age, I didn't really know what was happening to me, and my initial reaction was just to pretend like nothing had changed. When I was in the 6th grade, my hair had started to grow back again, and by the time I was in 8th grade, I almost had a full head of hair. But my first day of high school, I started to lose my hair again, and this time it was very different from when I was in 3rd grade.
I have an autoimmune disease called alopecia. It is something that I've had my entire life. When I was about 2, I didn't have hair, I didn't have eyebrows, I didn't even have nails. I actually went into a full remission when I was about 3 or 3.5. That meant that I actually grew all of my hair back, all my eyebrows and my eyelashes. And so most of my adolescence, I actually had no idea that I had alopecia. It was when I was about 11 that it started to come out in patches again. I didn't really know what was going on, and it was then that I was informed that I had an autoimmune disease called alopecia.
Even though it was very difficult throughout my life, I had such a strong support system, especially my sister, my older sister Vadi, because she instilled a confidence in me that was based off of who I was rather than what I looked like.
I feel as though I was taught when I was younger that hair equaled beauty, hair equaled femininity. And so when I lost all of mine, that was really hard for me to feel like a woman. And that is who I identify as, and I wanted nothing more than to feel like a powerful woman. And now I just see it as a really strong sign of being very bold, being very feminine. I make my femininity, I make my own beauty. Nobody else can tell me what that means.
I realized that when you're given tests and obstacles and have to make sacrifices in your life, although they're very difficult, they can also often be gifts from God because they're forcing you to strengthen your spiritual qualities. And I think alopecia has been that lens for me to see things beyond its material existence.
My hair has been thin my whole life. But in my early 20s, I started losing my hair. So it just started thinning out. I spent a big chunk of time just trying to avoid it. I took every magical pill that you could think of. I used shampoos and soaps on. I went to see a bunch of different doctors. I tried teasing it and tinted dry shampoo. So many things. I've cut it in layers to imitate volume. It's just been a challenge to just accept it because it's just so hard to go out in society and not have the hair that's expected of me. Female hair loss is such a taboo subject. The stigma of it makes us stay quiet about it. It's not discussed, it's not talked about in society when a young person loses their hair because it's not expected. For the world to know that it can happen at any time to any person.
So what I embrace most about having locks is the community. I didn't know there was such a big lock community. Just the journey, because when you first start off, you start off with very short locks and what they call the ugly stage. And I feel like once you go through that entire journey, you get to share that journey with other people who have locks. I feel like that I'm learning more and more about as I continue to grow my locks, but that's been an interesting part of the journey as far as what I've embraced thus far.
Wow, yes. My journey with my hair, I have had a press and curl. I have had my hair braided. I've had my hair natural. I've had my hair cut short.
Got red highlights, bleached it pretty close to blonde. It was a disaster. The first people that were not so thrilled were my grandparents. They were, born in India, raised in India, grew up in India. They were definitely surprised by my experimental phase.
I've dyed my hair bright red, pink, I bleached my hair. That was a lot in undergrad to the point where all my hair fell out, so then I cut off all my hair. I've gone really short. I've done braids, extension, cornrows, not French braids. The only thing I haven't done is weave extensions or wigs, and that might be after my locks.
It has been an interesting hair journey for me, and I continue to grow through my hair and changing my styles, but most importantly, knowing that my hair is enough for me and my natural styles.
I think the reason I decided to wear a wig has changed throughout the years. At the beginning, it was definitely because I wanted to fit in high school. When I was in elementary school and middle school, my identity was always being the bald girl. I think who we are is much deeper than what we look like on the outside. And for me, I wanted people to see all the aspects of who I was before they identified me as a bald girl or someone who didn't have hair. And so wearing a wig made it a lot easier for people to see me as a whole rather than just this aspect of my life.
Some societal misconceptions with women with short hair. One, that it's hard to pull off short hair or you have to have a certain face shape. No. Short hair is like clothing. It's a confidence thing. It's more about your attitude than your face shape. Number two, people will find you less attractive. I'm gonna go with semi-false on this one because people that knew me with longer hair, they were really shocked when I cut it all off. And people that gave me second glances before with long hair, yeah, those second glances didn't come anymore. However, people that never knew Rebecca with long, thick hair now complimented me on my eyes, how bold I was, my personality. And number three, my all-time favorite. Having short hair doesn't mean you're lesbian. I cut my hair short 2 years ago because I wanted to prove to myself that there was beauty beyond my hair. I hid behind my hair. I used my hair as sometimes sexual power. It was nice to fit into a certain box, to look like most people around me. My short hair represents to me the restart button. It's cutting off security, fear, and finding self-acceptance beyond my hair. My short hair is feminine, is bold, and is badass, no matter what anyone says.
My lock hair is not dreadful. It is beautiful, no matter what society says.
My alopecia does not define who I am, no matter what anyone says.
My wild hair is authentic no matter what society says.
My thinning hair is enough, no matter what the world says.
My black hair is here to stay no matter what the government says.
My kinky hair is beautiful no matter what society says.
My blonde hair is not indicative of my depth, no matter what society says.
My thick Indian hair is beautiful no matter what anyone says.
My lack of hair is beautiful and strong, no matter what anybody says.
No, you're welcome. It's so important. Thank you. It's like so important for them to know now that you can be who you want to be and your hair doesn't have to be a burden. Like there's nothing burdensome about your hair. Okay. So.
Convict music, See, I can kinda recall a little ways back, small trying to ball, always been black, and my hair I tried it all, I even went flat, had a lumpy curly top and all that crap now. Was trying to be appreciated, nappy-headed brothers never had no ladies. Then I hit the barbershop real quick, had them give me little twists and it drove them crazy. Then I couldn't get no job, 'cause corporate wouldn't hire no dreadlocks. Then I thought about my dogs on the block, kind of understand why they chose to steal and rob. Or was it the hair that got me this far? All these girls, these cribs, these cars. I hate to say it, but it seems so flawed, 'cause success didn't come till I cut it all off.
Little girl with the pressure curl, AJ, I got a Jericho. 13 and I got a relaxer. I was a source of so much laughter. 15-minute all broke off. 18 when I went on natural. February 2002, I only did what I had to do, because it was time to change my life, to become the woman that I am inside. 97 dreadlocks all gone. I looked in the mirror for the first time and saw that I am not my hair, I am not this skin, I am not your expectations, no, no, I am not my hair. I do my hair toss, check my nails, baby, how you feeling?